came across Tunnel Creek this morning at dark 30, it was 40 degrees. And when I got here, it was 41 degrees.
Really? That cold down there?
Well, it's just, yeah, there's no
cold drain.
Yeah, there's no mixing of the air right now, so. Well, good Tuesday morning, 3 minutes past 10 o'clock. We're at 48 degrees up at the Payson Airport right now. We're Andy Roberson with you with another edition of KRIM's Community Spotlight. And with us we have Glenn McCombs, as we do once a month, from Plant Fair Nursery out on Highway 260 in Star Valley. And Glenn, I think a lot of people might consider that, the nursery business might be a little slow this time of year, but actually you're really staying quite busy with Christmas trees right now.
Right, yeah. It's time to get your Christmas tree for sure.
Okay. What kind do you have?
Actually 3 kinds: Fraser fir, Noble fir, and Douglas fir.
Ah,
yeah.
Well, Noble fir certainly sounds nice.
Yeah, it sounds noble.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Actually, there was an awful lot, as a matter of fact, on TV last night, news from the Valley. There was a thing about there was a shortage and the price increase and all that kind of stuff. And so we expected the very worst when we got ready to unload our truckload of trees. And so we thought that they were going to be burnt. We thought they were going to be painted maybe. We thought they were going to be ugly. We thought that we were going to be shorted. And it was exactly the opposite.
Wow.
These are the best trees we've had in probably 3 or 4 years.
Really?
We got every single tree that we ordered. Every time we open up one, they come in all roped up, all bound together so they can get a bunch on the truck. And every one of them, we're just in awe at how beautiful they are.
Wow.
So I don't know where all those rumors came from, or I don't know what's going on down in the Phoenix area, but for us, it's just been fantastic.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Now, quite a variety of sizes?
Right, all the way from 5 feet all the way up to about, well, I think all of our big ones are already gone. So the biggest we have right now would be a 7 to 8.
Right.
Okay,
and I think at least looking at my family in the past, when it came to live Christmas trees, there is an awful lot, not necessarily an awful lot, but there is a lot more than some people know about how to keep a Christmas tree fresh and keep those pine needles on the tree longer. And just some tricks of the trade, I guess.
Sure.
So what do we have to do? I mean, do you put a little nightcap down in there for them? Little whiskey in the evening, or what do you do to keep your tree happy?
Well, actually, for a cut tree, which they're living trees, but they were alive. Now they're cut.
Right.
And but that doesn't mean that they don't need to still take up some moisture to go on up into the tree. With everybody putting in trees right after Thanksgiving, literally, in the day. They put up a tree in the house a couple of days before Christmas. Now it can be right after Thanksgiving, so you need to be able to keep that tree good and fresh. So the best thing is we will do a fresh cut on that tree if they're local folks, live in the Payson area. And a fresh cut is like with a chainsaw, and you just take a little bit of the trunk off, maybe 1 or 2 inches. And what that does is it makes it fresh so that it opens up the vascular system of that tree. And then when you get home, right away, you just put that tree right down in water, the trunk right down in a bucket of water, and it will suck up that moisture. And leave it there for 2 or 3 hours, or maybe even a day, before you go ahead and bring it inside and decorate it. So it will do what we call plumping it up. So when you plump it up, that means the moisture gets up in those needles, and it will keep them fresh, just like it was living on for another year.
So even though the tree has been cut down in a forest somewhere a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was, that fresh cut makes a big difference.
Yeah. So what happens when they cut them down well, they come from plantations, tree farms. When they cut them down, they're almost instantly, within an hour or two, it begins to scab over. It's just like a wound on you, like if you cut your finger and you just kind of watch it, it will scab over and then it will heal itself. Tree does exactly the same thing. So it will, and then so that it stops any kind of moisture from coming up. It can't get anything else. It just scabs right on over. So when we do that fresh cut, like the couple of inches off the bottom, or even just 1 inch, then that's just like opening it back up again. So you need to put that down in water. We don't recommend that you take it right home from our place and put it right up and start decorating it right away. You can do that if you have the type of tree stand that will hold water, which we highly recommend.
Right.
And then you can do that then. Just put it right in that stand, put it where you're going to put it in the living room, fill that full of water, and let it take the water up. We always recommend you kind of wait a couple of hours just to make sure that it is taking up water. And let's say that our fresh cut didn't work for whatever reason, and the water just sits there, it doesn't take any up. We recommend you take it right back out of that stand, do another fresh cut yourself with your chainsaw or some kind of a saw.
Right.
You could use the old, the saw that you
manual labor.
little manual
danger,
labor,
danger.
just to make a fresh cut,
Right.
and then try it again. And but if it will take up water, and you can tell the water reservoir will start going down just like it's drinking it, and it is.
Wow.
Mhm.
Now, I've also heard different conjecture towards the idea of other stuff you can add to the water, like sugar and things like that. Any truth to any of that as far as it being a help in
Well,
keeping things fresh?
we do sell a preservative which is designed exactly for that, and that helps hold the vascular system out, and it makes water wetter. So what it literally does is it makes since it's making the water wetter, it's easier for the tree to take right back up again, and it goes right out into the needles and helps hold them onto the tree, so you don't have a fire hazard sometime before Christmas.
I've never heard of wetter water. That's cool. Now, any idea what's actually in that mix of stuff?
It's a $40 word. I really don't know. Right, I'd have to have a little bottle.
Comes right after anti-disestablishmentarianism, right?
Right.
Well, interesting. Now you can. What is just a packet that you add to the water?
Actually, this is just a little bottle that is very inexpensive, a couple of bucks, and you just add it to the water,
Huh.
and then every time you add water, you just add a little bit of that with it, and that will help preserve that tree.
Now, what about people that want a live tree? Do you do that too?
Yes, we have spruce and pines for live trees, and lots of people do that every single year. Matter of fact, you can go around in the Payson area and you can see where there'll be a small tree, let's say a 4 to 5 foot spruce, all the way up to like a 10 or 12 foot spruce. Well, that 10 or 12 foot spruce is the one that they planted a dozen years ago
Right.
from their Christmas, and then every Christmas after that it's kind of gone down.
I seem to remember my parents buying a live tree a couple of times at their place in Payson here when they were alive, and
Sure.
doing that same thing where just after Christmas, plant it outside, and
That's right.
good to go.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with those. You have to keep those moist, because those trees were growing in the ground. In Oregon is where we usually get them,
Right.
and so that tree was doing real well. Now they've cut that out of the ground and put it up in a pot, so you still have to maintain the moisture in that pot so that it can still take up water to support those needles.
Right.
And one of the easy ways to do it is to use ice cubes. So you have your pot, and then you have underneath of all that foliage is the dirt that the tree is actually growing into, and you just take some ice cubes from your refrigerator, from your freezer, and put a good tray of them. I don't know, does anybody even have trays anymore? I think they're all ice
I remember
makers.
those days.
Yeah. But anyway, you do like a pretty good handful, a couple of handfuls of those ice cubes, and you just distributed them right on the dirt that's underneath of underneath the foliage.
So they slowly melt.
And they just slowly melt down in there. That way it's not making a big old mess with you pouring a big gallon of water, a quart of water, or whatever on it. We also recommend you still use some kind of a tray underneath.
Right.
Kind of protect your carpet or your floor.
So you really you can tell trees to just chill out then.
Literally. Yeah.
Wow. Now, when it comes to size on the live trees, still a wide variance there as far as.
Yeah, not as wide. So in the living trees, our most popular right now is a blue spruce, about 4 to 5 feet tall. We have Austrian pines that are anywhere from probably a couple of feet on up to about 4 to 5 feet.
Right.
Unfortunately, with COVID, our growers not being able to get any help have been real limited on supplying trees. So bigger trees kind of sold out early and during COVID, and were not replaced. So what they do normally is they'll sell off part of their crop, and then allow part of it to go ahead and grow to the next size, and then they replant every year, and then allow those trees to get up to the next size. Well, the last 2 or 3 years they haven't been doing that, so we're losing the real tall ones. Not only that, but you wouldn't want to try to put a living or a live 8-foot tree, and it would take a forklift and a big door
Right.
to get those in. Although we've had customers that have tried and about killed the tree in themselves trying to get it in there. But yeah.
Well, so now that's interesting though. When it comes to doing this, I mean, to me it just seems like it makes sense. When you're talking about a blue spruce, those grow really good in this climate, right?
Yes, they do.
And so, not a lot of other than the weight of the tree and everything itself, but as far as planting it, not a whole lot of extra prep work that you need to do to get this in the ground.
Well, yeah, the only thing that we recommend is, we don't recommend that you keep it in your house more than 7 to 10 days, 2 weeks max. And the reason why we don't recommend that or beyond that, is because it's outside, it's freezing. It probably came from a freezing climate, although we have had all the ones we have in here now, we've had all fall, and we've been real warm. We haven't really had winter yet,
Right.
until hopefully within the next couple of days we're supposed to get some. But anyway, they've been outside, they've been cold, they've been going dormant. Their little cones have already been formed on the branches, which is next year's new growth.
Right.
And so what happens is, if you bring it in the house for more than a week or 10 days or so, it will enjoy the warmth of your house. Whether you have especially if you have a wood stove, that will just dry the air right out, and it will make it break dormancy. Well, if it breaks dormancy, that means that those little cones will try to put out new growth. And as soon as they try to put out new growth, then you're taking it right outside, putting it right in the ground, and that new growth will freeze. Even though it's a cold hardy tree,
Right.
it was too used to the warm. So we recommend no more than a couple of weeks, and then actually 10 days is probably about right. But then we recommend you take it out of your house, put it under the front porch or in the garage or whatever you have, so that the main elements don't fall on it, like the snow and freezing rain, and leave it out there for about a week or two. Then that will acclimate to the outside weather from the transition from your house, and then you put it in the ground and it will be okay.
Makes sense. Now, you mentioned something I thought was kind of interesting before we went on the air today, and that is that you were kind of thinking that maybe this year's supply of Christmas trees would be a little substandard, but that isn't the case.
And not at all. These are the best trees that we've had literally in probably the last 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
But we were expecting. We believed what we heard on TV.
There's your first mistake.
That they were going to be not good. And boy, every one that we open up, I go, wow, look at that tree. It's just beautiful, So we don't know who got those bad trees that they were supposedly sending out, but it wasn't us. We got some nice ones.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Now, and is this? You get a lot of traffic for live Christmas trees and cut Christmas trees at plant fairs.
Yeah, we do. Actually, we had trees and wreaths go to Amarillo, Texas, over the weekend. Somebody saw our sign out front, pulled in, and actually they went down the street, turned around, came back to see what ours were like, liked our trees, and our wreaths. So they loaded them up and headed for Amarillo.
Wow! By morning.
Me on the Amarillo, yeah.
No,
So
you still have any wreaths left?
yes,
Okay.
we do have a few.
Do you make them yourself, or are these pre-done?
These are actually done by our friends up in Lakeside,
Oh wow!
and they're from native trees that's up in the White Mountains.
Cool.
They get a permit where they can go up and cut so much foliage, and then they bring them down to the nursery there in Lakeside, and they make them. Matter of fact, I had somebody ask how fresh they were, and how fresh they were is the guy had just gotten back from the mountains that morning that I was there, and I had to wait for him to finish making them so I could load up and come back. That's fresh.
Wow, I like it. And the different sizes on the wreaths?
We just have one size. I'm not sure if that's a 20-inch or probably around a
Whatever
20.
it is, it's the perfect size.
Yeah, it's a real nice size. And it's Doug firs, and
Right.
some of them have their own clones. There's Arizona white fir, which is that beautiful blue fir.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the two that they mostly use.
Wow. So still plenty of those in stock for people to go down and
Yeah.
check out. Huh?
Yeah, we have more, and I'm trying to dodge the snow between here and Lakeside over the weekend. I'll probably go get more
That's-
by the weekend. We'll see how the road looks.
Forecast is looking kind of iffy,
Yeah.
at least Thursday into Friday. Friday, the weekend so far, the forecast is calling for things to clear up and get a little bit warmer. But
I was thinking maybe I'd go Saturday if the roads are okay.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
They're talking about maybe up to 6 inches above 6,000 feet,
Yeah,
which
we need it.
when they start talking about that much this far out, and usually those estimates go up rather than down. But we shall see.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It'd be nice to actually, potentially see a little white Christmas action.
That'd be good for a change. wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
we haven't seen a whole lot of that for a
Mhm.
while. Now, what else goes on at Plant Fair this time of year? I mean, it's typically that time of year where folks aren't maybe gardening so much, but there's still an awful lot of work that needs to be done to get ready for next spring and things like that.
Yeah, well, it's time, any time now. Usually we say from after Thanksgiving all the way to February, you can prune your trees. A lot of people wait until the main damage of winter is done. So it may be just a little bit early for that, but time to start thinking about that. We always like to wait until February or so to plant or to prune fruit trees or flowering shrubs or that sort of thing. That way we'll already had our coldest days. So when it gets down into the single digits, which there's always 1 or 2 days that it does that every year,
Sure.
that you can damage roses and flowering shrubs and even new growth on trees. If you wait until February, then you're just going to cut those off anyway to help prune it up. So we try to wait for that. Like these beautiful pampas grass that have been out there, they're still in bloom. Normally at this time of the year, those would be starting to dry and starting to look a little brown. We just go ahead and get out the hedge clippers and clip those back. I would still wait a little bit because they're still actually pretty. We have a lot of vegetable gardeners now. They're starting to work organics into the ground. We sell the bulk composted mulch, and they're by the Bobcat scoop, and they're bringing their trucks in and taking out some pretty good scoops of those of that to get into to sit there the rest of the winter up until probably March or so when they can start digging it back into the ground and getting ready to plant.
This composted mulch, is that what is also referred to as black gold?
Yeah, they've nicknamed that black gold, probably because of the price. I'm not sure.
So what does, if I, let's say, and because I'm asking this because I really am interested, if I want like a dump truck load of that, is that something that can be ordered?
A dump truck, well, certainly you can get as much as you want, but you would have to find somebody with a dump truck.
Right.
So we used to have a very nice man, been around here forever, had a dump truck, and he would come in, and for $50 you could load as many scoops on there as you could get on, which is 10 or 12.
Wow.
And he'd bring it out to you for about $50. But unfortunately, we lost him here this fall, and so I don't know. You'd almost have to now search for a guy. Most people just bring a pickup, and we can put 2 to 3 in an average size half-ton or three-quarter-ton pickup, and you just scoop it off back up to your garden and start shoveling.
Wouldn't be a bad time to maybe start getting the flower bed or the vegetable garden bed or whatever it is you're growing, getting the soil ready now for the spring.
It's a great time for that summer or springtime garden, because most all of the garden right now is pretty well done. You know, there's people are here at this elevation are going to be still growing like broccoli and cabbage and kale and that sort of thing. So if you keep those separate from your summer garden, then you can just dig it right into what's going to be your summer part of the garden, because you don't want to be digging around the cold crops now, the brassicas, the cabbage, and all that sort of thing. So.
Now, and you've been at this for a lot of years here in Rim Country, and with folks right up along the rim buying from you, as well as down in Tonto Basin. It's a kind of a different climate down there. Much different traffic from those folks this time of year for you?
Yeah, sure. There is a lot of folks from Tonto Basin coming up. Nice and warm down there, as you well know. Yeah. Still, it's like actually fall probably down there.
The forecast high today is 70 degrees.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah, see,
that's not too hard to
That's a good place to be right now.
I can boast about it right now because during the summer, I don't even talk about it.
Yeah, I understand. So actually, down where you are, down in the Tonto Basin, that you do winter crops down there, and that's the time to get all of those what we call the brassicas: cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, all the kales, peas. Those are all things that won't freeze, and you will get a freeze, but those kind of crops don't mind. The beauty of gardening down in Tonto Basin is no bugs. You know, there may be a few winter bugs, but very, very few. All those nasty bugs like aphids and that sort of thing, they're gone. They've already flew the coop. You know, they're dormant for winter. They've already laid their eggs, and they'll be ready for your summer crop. But for
I tell you, this year too, with the monsoon, extra monsoon moisture and everything, we had an abundance of windshield decorations down there, but like you say, it seems like that's just about all gone. There's hardly anything that
they curtail. And we do have folks here at this elevation, at our 5,000 foot elevation, that still plant. They planted back in way before Thanksgiving. They planted cabbage, cauliflower, that sort of thing, peas, and while they're up and doing well, they're going to really slow down in our cold weather. But the beauty of having them in there this winter is some people are putting frost cloth on them and they're still getting growth, but it's slow growth. Then right away in spring, when you think it's still real cold, they're still going to be growing, and they'll start growing real fast, and you'll start getting broccoli shoots that you can harvest, and you'll start watching the cabbage heads start to grow, and way before you'll ever be able to plant summer stuff, which is usually about May here. You're going to be harvesting all of those good vegetables, fruits and vegetables in probably February, March. You're going to start seeing them grow, and you're going to start seeing some crop on ones that you planted in the fall.
Another completely self-serving question. When it comes to raised gardening, garden beds, that's one of the things that we're looking at doing, and I've read a few different things, but as far as how to, if you've got a 3 foot deep raised bed area that you're going to do, it's not just a matter of just dumping dirt into it and planting stuff. There's a little bit more that needs to be done to make sure that that's a healthy environment.
Well, you definitely want to make sure that you have good drainage out of that. So if it's sitting on well-drained ground, that's all you need. If it's not, if it's like a clay soil or rock, maybe you can still put it on there. You maybe just have to put drainage in the bottom side of the container. The most important thing is getting a good loose soil in there. So composted mulch mixed with dirt is actually ideal, because the dirt holds the nutrients, the compost will hold the moisture, and then you have a real good and growing environment. You always want to keep in mind that everything grows by water going from on top and soaking down through the root zone.
Right.
And what happens once the water goes down through the root zone, oxygen follows. And when oxygen follows, that makes healthy, good white hair roots, and you'll have a good crop up on top.
Did I hear that right? That white hair is a sign of healthiness?
Yeah, that's what I keep telling everybody.
Suddenly feel much better about myself. Anyway, if people have questions, do you have people call you over there just hey, how does this, do this and that and the other thing, and you welcome that?
We welcome that. We have several people there that can answer the questions, and that's part of what we pride ourselves on. We just don't have the product for sale. We have the information to go along with it.
And we're about out of time, but with it getting colder, I would think that we would be remiss if we didn't also mention it. You got some pretty cool hot tubs over there.
You know, surprisingly, with COVID, we are unable to get hot tubs.
Oh, wow.
We have just had 6 hot tubs made. That will give us our allotment for the year. Rob tells me that they're going to be in on Friday. All of them are already sold.
Wow.
We are taking names and giving out brochures. So let's say the individual wants a hot tub. They spot one in the brochure that they like. We also give them a price list. And if they want that tub, all they have to do is just tell Rob. They don't have to write a check or put half down or anything else. They tell him what they're looking for, and he will order that tub for them in hopes that it can be made within the next 4 to 6 months.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, you gotta wait. Hopefully things will turn around. You know, people get back to being employed, and
Right.
and materials will be available.
Well, it's affected everybody.
Everything.
You know, when it comes to the economy, it's affected.
It's
about
not
everything.
just about toilet paper anymore.
Yeah, and when they start, when it starts messing with your groceries and stuff like that, and it's like Walmart's out of milk, what?
Yeah,
But
there you go.
at any rate, well, again, the phone number to call if you do have a question about things at Plant Fair, the number to call?
Is 928-474-6556.
Glenn, it's always a pleasure to have you in here. I can only think of another couple hours of questions for you, but we'll save that for next month.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in and listening this morning to Community Spotlight on KRIM. Gonna get you back to more of your favorite music. Have some tunes coming up from the Police, 7 Mary 3, Lou Reed, ZZ Top, and more. But right now, a quick look at Rim Country weather.
Now, this morning's KRIM weather forecast.
Just like that.
Okay, that was a fast half hour.
It just blows by real quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Showers